New York City has long been known as the Mecca for basketball, particularly at the youth and grassroots level. However, in recent years, some have felt that the Big Apple isn't producing basketball talent the way that it used to. So now, two men are looking to bring back the vibes to New York with a new basketball facility and more. Joining me today to talk about that are the co-founders of the program, Griffin Taylor and Jared Effron. They join me now. Griffin to my left, Jared to my right. How you guys doing?
Doing great. Thanks so much for having us on, Dexter.
Oh, man, glad to have you guys here. Listen, I love to talk hoops, and anytime we can talk about New York City hoops, that's also a good thing. So, Griffin and Jared, I know you both are like me in that you love basketball, you grew up hooping in NYC, but you feel that something is currently missing when it comes to New York basketball. What is different with NYC basketball now as opposed to back in the day? Griffin, I'm going to start with you first on this. What's different with NYC basketball right now?
For sure. So, Dexter, for 50 to 75 years, New York City was the Mecca for basketball. We produced Division I and NBA talent at unprecedented rates. You turn on a Big East or an ACC game 20 years ago, it felt like half the players on the court, the point guards at least, we're from a New York City high school. From the heyday of Gauchos in the Bronx to Abraham Lincoln and Coney Island to the epic summer games at EBC Rucker Park, New York City had a certain aura and reputation and swagger that was unmatched at both the youth and the grassroots level. Fast forward 20 years statistically and reputationally, and New York has fallen off the grid a little bit. And so what Jared and I are coming together to try to do is, through the program NYC, really restore New York City to its rightful place at the Mecca of both youth and grassroots basketball.
All right, we like that. I want to get more into what you guys are doing. Jared, I want you to touch upon how you feel about how things have changed with NYC basketball. And also, do you have an answer as to why that has changed?
Yeah, I feel like Griffin summed up exactly how we both feel about this issue. But, I think that there are multiple reasons why our NYC basketball reputation has fallen off. I feel like there's a lot of fracture between the AAU programs, and court space in New York is incredibly hard to get, which is really a crazy concept if you think about it. New York's the Mecca of basketball. We're considered to be one of the best basketball cities in not only the country but the world. But Griffin and I remember growing up, had a very hard time just getting on a court to play pickup. We either had to join a membership or get lucky to get invited to a pickup game or something like that. So I think if we can provide the sort of resources that Griffin and I are hoping to, put in our facility, in our program, as well as hire the sort of coaching from an elite level, MBA, ex-college guys, ex-Euro guys, really step up the sort of instruction that I feel like we've been lacking recently. We can get right back to the top fast because the talent is here for sure. We know that.
No doubt about that the talent is here in the Big Apple. Okay, so Griffin, I'm going to come back to you here. I know that you both want to change things, and you started something that you talked about called the Program NYC. Tell me a bit about how you and Jared connected to create the program.
Oh, man. So Jared and I, lifelong childhood friends. We were bitter nemesis in our Upper East Side rec leagues. Jared loves to tell the story that he scored 40 points on me in an 8th grade game, and I can confirm that is indeed true. Stayed in touch over the years, had this idea about a decade ago. We were a little bit young to kind of have the wherewithal to know what we were doing, to be able to pull it off. And we actually reconnected a couple summers ago at a wedding down in South Carolina, and just picked up like we never left, talked ball for 3-4 hours, got lunch a couple days later. And, I kind of said, hey, that great idea we had a decade ago, New York there's still a void at the youth and grassroots level. And given our networks and connectivity and complementary skill sets, I don't want to quite say we're Stockton and Malone, but we kind of looked at each other and said, why not us? Why not now? And, had a deck in front of Jared a few days later, and it's been off to the races ever since. So really, it's been a friendship for over 20 years. And, it's been a partnership in the making for over 10. And, it's been a really exhilarating last 18 months. The types of figures on the grassroots level, from coaching, as Jared alluded to the NBA level, that we've been able to get involved. And, our best days are definitely still ahead of us.
Hey, I love it. friendship and basketball all coming together. That's how it's supposed to be, guys. I like that. I like it. So, Jared, at the core of what you guys are doing with the program is an elite training facility that you guys have coming. How is that going to help basketball at the youth and grassroots level?
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, I think that part of the reason it's been so difficult to keep talent here, as well as get our kids to the right, the next level, whether that be college, NBA, is there just isn't the sort of facility that, you see nationwide in all these other cities that, Griffin and I feel really shouldn't be ahead of where we are. What we are hoping to do is build an almost college level sort of basketball facility that would include a turf training area, multiple courts, a juice bar, a recovery room, film study room, all the amenities that we think would be necessary for our players to really focus on their growth and, I think give them the tools and resources to get to that next level. And I feel that, there's a blueprint around the country of these sorts of facilities popping up. Obviously, the price of real estate in New York is a little bit more expensive than anywhere else. But the goal is to put something on that level and, be recognized nationally in kind of the same light.
All right, and I think when you talk about having those facilities and the importance of it with the lack of court space that you guys talked about before, that's something important for people wanting to play basketball who are young to have this very important thing. But the other thing, guys, is whenever people hear about a new business coming to a city, a question that'll commonly come up is, will this be accessible for everyone? So I want to ask you both, will your basketball facility be accessible to everyone, and how do you plan on doing that? Griffin, I'll start with you first.
Definitely. I think, the biggest void that we're looking to fill, right, is creating, as Jared alluded to, a state-of-the-art indoor facility that's accessible to youth of all socioeconomic backgrounds, all age groups, and all genders. And so, it's no secret that, a lot of what made New York City basketball reputationally what it is and what it has been over the years, right, has been, youth in a lot of the inner city and underserved communities. And we really intend to open our doors and find ways to serve all those kids and all those families. We tend to have, we expect to have, a few different tiers to our model, right? We're going to have membership programs, right, where families that can afford to pay can sort of get all of the best coaches that typically you've had to go to one borough for strength and conditioning and one borough for shooting and one borough for 5-on-5, bringing that all under one roof. And, we actually have a charitable trust that we've established, right? So for every family that, we're able to get into the door that, can afford to pay for this elite level of training, we then intend to gift one scholarship out to a child in an underserved community that maybe can't afford to be a part of the facility, but really deserves it. And we want to make sure to get them in there. And, we've actually spoken to some of our advisors and investors on the NBA side, guys like Carmelo Anthony, Kenny Smith, Chris Mullin, about going back to the neighborhoods that they're from, right? That made such an impact on them, and gifting scholarships to inner city and underserved youth in those communities. So diversity and accessibility is something that's really important to us. And I know Jared, it really means a lot to him, and he's very passionate about it on a lot of levels.
And Jared, I want to hear from you on that, your passion for that on so many levels with this, because when I hear what Griffin says, it sounds like this was a major focus for you guys going into knowing you're building this facility, that you wanted to make it accessible for everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. Griffin and I were blessed to grow up on the Upper East Side and, really not have issues finding leagues and pickup games and facilities to, hone our craft, right? Unfortunately, not everybody is able to have that. And so I think it's incredibly important to Griffin and I to give back. My family has been involved in philanthropic endeavors forever. So giving back is really an important thing to me specifically, and I know as well to Griffin. And the truth is, putting kids together on the court when they're younger, I think is a great learning mechanism for life, right? The earlier that we can get as many kids from different socioeconomic backgrounds together, at an early age, learning about each other, playing together. You can develop friendships for life, and hopefully, we just want to, help make the world a little bit of a better place. And I think that giving everybody the opportunity to be in the gym puts everyone on the same playing field, and really speaks to how important the inner city and giving back to our community, what those values really mean to Griffin and I, and we're very, very, very proud of that.
Yeah, no, very glad to hear that you guys are doing that and trying to make it accessible for everyone. Griffin, I got to ask you this. Besides the facility, I know you guys have other things going on here. What plans do you have for the program beside the facility?
Yeah, that's a great question, Dexter. I think it's no secret that, a big reason for the statistical and reputational drop off a little bit of New York, right, at the youth and grassroots level is a lot of the best players here, right? The kids that grow up here and maybe are good enough to go all the way to an ACC or a Big East or SEC school, or even potentially play pro. A lot of them are leaving the city, right, when they're 14, 15 years old to go to prep schools in other states and other regions of the country. And so, a big goal and vision for Jared and I is, to put the resources and assets together to build our own powerhouse prep school and academy right here in the city, right, where we can offer the elite players in the tri-state area the ability to have not only a world-class basketball, but a world-class educational experience again. And most important, compete nationally, against the other top high schools in the country, kind of putting New York back on the map, with that swagger reputationally as the Mecca. I know there was a fantastic quote, I think, from Trae Young a few years ago, right? Talking about how growing up as a kid in Oklahoma City, seeing Blake Griffin, right, do everything that he did and accomplish, and being able to kind of touch and see and feel him, it let Trae know as a kid, right, that is possible to get to that level. And so I think if we're able to keep our best and most elite high school players here in New York, it's going to inspire those younger kids as role models to know that they can achieve that level of success as well. And so, there's obviously a lot of moving parts and hurdles for Jared and I to go through to get that prep school and academy off the ground. But we're very much going through them right now. And, we're very excited eventually for that to be a huge goal of ours.
Yeah, excited to hear about that too, and an academy coming to New York. I think that's necessary for a lot of young players as well. Jared, when it comes to basketball training, there's so many options out there. There's a lot in terms of young players trying to train. So what separates what you guys do from other training and skill development programs that are out there?
Yeah, it's a great point. Look, this program was born out of the passion for two New York City kids growing up playing ball here. We understand the basketball culture, legacy of the city. And, I think that being a New York basketball player, you get this kind of gritty, hustler sort of mentality. And that's something we'd really like to pass down to our younger players. So besides the facility and coaching staff, truly the group of strategic advisors, guys like Mello, Kenny Smith, JJ Redick, Chris Mullen, Mo Harkless, as well as our coaching staff, right? Guys who have coached many, many McDonald's All-Americans, guys who've played in the league, guys who've played Euro League and high level at college. And then along with incredible investors, right? People who really love the game of basketball, are super influential in New York City and are very supportive of what we're doing. Those three things combined, I think really differentiates all of the other programs that are out there, and gives us a real advantage as we really hope to grow this thing next 5-10 years, potentially to a national level as well.
You mentioned the next 5 to 10 years. I want to kind of go there for a second. And lastly, this is for you both. I know this is just the beginning of what you guys are doing here, but what are your goals for the program, and where do you see New York basketball at the youth and grassroots level in the next 5 to 10 years? Jared, I'm going to bring it back to you first here. Where do you see this going in the next 5 to 10 years?
My partner is an internal optimist, so I am of the belief, and we strongly feel that not only can this program be, potentially one of the best in the nation in 5 years, but with the hopeful addition of the academy, we could really change the landscape of New York youth basketball, right? A lot of these kids need the exposure that they get nationally at other academies, at all these tournaments that they're going to, yet we don't really have an option like that for them. So I truly believe that if we stay the course, we get the facility up and running, and eventually launch the academy, there's really no limit to where this can go. I'm super, super excited about it. I know that this is Griffin's lifelong dream. So we're just, itching to get started, and we feel really good about our prospects.
Lifelong dream for you, Griffin. Share that excitement with me. Where do you see this going in the next 5 to 10 years, since this is your lifelong dream?
Definitely. Dexter, tapping into your background, right? As a Big East guy, you look back 20 years ago at guys like Levance Fields, Carl Krauser, Chris Taft. If you were a kid, right, and you were coming from New York and you were playing on the AAU and the national circuits, reputationally, right, you were automatically going to get more looks, more opportunities, more NCAA scholarship offers just by proxy of being a New York City kid. And I think what we really want to do is recreate that, not only reputation, but excitement around New York City players so that they can get the most exposure, the most looks, the most opportunities, right, to get a college scholarship. And, then I think once we help our youth, right, attain more scholarships, at college and the next levels through the game of basketball, it opens up a lot of opportunities off the court, right? Kenny Smith, one of our advisors, likes to say many more people have won the lottery than have ever played a minute in the NBA. It's very hard to make it all the way to that level, right? But, if we can help our kids get a college degree or make lifelong relationships and friendships, as Jared referenced, right, with kids from other socioeconomic backgrounds and communities from a young age, some of our players from the program will ultimately go on and, pursue a career in media and broadcasting, right, like you've achieved, Dexter, or learn how to work in the business side of sports. So, I think really the key is to sort of, use the game of basketball as a vehicle to provide greater opportunities on and off the court for young men and women that come from New York City.
I love that. I love what you said right there about how you can use the game of basketball as a vehicle to help provide opportunities for young men and women here in the Big Apple area. And one last thing before we go, guys, because I want to be clear so everybody understands, and Griffin, maybe you could talk about this a bit. When can people expect this facility? I know it's still in the works. There's a lot of things to go through, but when can they expect to see this facility and some of the other things that are coming down the road with the program?
It's a multi-million-dollar question. I think with the facility, I think the biggest key for us, right, is what we've talked about throughout this segment is accessibility for all, right? We want to make sure that a kid in Coney Island has as easy a time getting there as a kid from Gun Hill in the North Bronx, right? Or Midtown Manhattan. And so Jared and I, and Jared's really the real estate savant, has been working really hard, on just making sure we figure out the right site and the right location that has central accessibility to all. We feel that we're very, very close to that right now. And, our hope and goal is to finalize that location between now and the end of the year, and then make sure we have the ability to open our doors at some point in 2024.
All right, there we go. Keep on the lookout for that with the program. Jared and Griffin doing great work. I want to thank you guys for joining me. This was really good. Anytime I get to talk about basketball, especially in New York, which I love, I know with the three of us, we all love, and I think you guys are doing great work and trying to help improve that on the youth and grassroots level. So I want to thank you for your time, and we'll talk again soon. Guys, we got to do this again. We're going to talk more when the facility's open. I'm going to come out there, hang out with you guys, see what's going on. We're going to get all that done.
We got to see the jump shot.
Yeah.
I was going to say, Griffin has said he could beat you one-on-one for $1,000. So
wow. Griffin's actually willing to put money on that, which I like too. We'll make that game happen. We'll make that game happen, Griffin. It's been a while since I've competitively played in the court, but we can make that happen. It's fine. Thank you guys. Appreciate it, and good luck with everything.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dexter.